I was recently thinking about the early days in the business for me and what were some of the most influential components that led to where I'm at today. And as I thought through, it was, there was pieces of the training that were super crucial, being around like-minded individuals, people that were making a lot more money and a much bigger impact than I was. But the one thing that I really sat down and thought about and processed through, and it kind of took me down memory lane, was call reviews, right? What we called it debriefing. And part of the debriefing process is after you got off a call, it might have been a deal that you got, right? You closed the deal, or it might have been one that you didn't get. And we would sit down. Typically, I'd go grab one of the other closers and it's like, "Hey, man, do you have a minute?" Right? And we just sit down and break down the deal. And it wasn't something where I was necessarily looking for feedback in the moment, but it naturally led to that, right? It became kind of an inner circle of four or five of us that would, discuss our deals regularly and come to the other closers. It's like, "Hey, this is what happened. What's your take?" But what was even more influential to me is the ability to kind of talk that deal out loud, right? So I would process the sales conversation of what happened, right? Where did I do really well? Where did I leave the biggest impact or make the biggest impact on the client? Right? Where could I have improved? What happened? And why did I get the particular result, good or bad, that I got? And what was so powerful about that is being able to talk it out loud and break down the way that I interpreted how the call went, but then also to get the feedback from the other salesmen and the other closers that were equally, and some of them much more talented than I was at the time, to where they could give me their interpretation of what they would have felt, what they would have said, what they would have asked, how they would have approached the conversation differently. One of the things that led to Coaches and Closers being Coaches and Closers, which is the name of my company, and the way that we train coaches to become elite in sales conversations, I've taken that component of how I was taught and the things that made the biggest impact, and I've implemented those into my coaching program. So a big part of what we do when we're working with our students is we're breaking down calls, but we're also breaking down the perception of what happened in the call. We do this in a one-to-one environment and a group environment. It's incredible to get feedback from other people. Now, the neat part about this is it's not open all the time where you're getting feedback from everybody, but it puts us in the driver's seat with some of our clients to where they can understand, they hired us for a reason, right? They're working with us because we know how to navigate these conversations really well. But it also allows us to surround ourselves with like-minded individuals, right? Coaches that are operating at a very high level and some that are well on their way. One of the things that I would urge you to do, if you're not doing so already, is break down your sales calls. Take 15 minutes, create a buffer in your calendar after every call, and go and just start writing. It's almost like a sales journal, right? Start writing and thinking through what happened, why it happened, what did you do, what could you have done differently, what did you take away, what did you learn from this conversation, right? What are the more powerful components that you can bring back to the next conversation to ensure that you either bring more value or you make a bigger impact, right? I want you to take that information and slowly, don't, one of my mentors said early on, it's like an arrow quiver, right? With the bow and arrow and archery. You don't want to just dump all your arrows. You might find one arrow that's not flying quite as true and you're going to get rid of it and start shooting a new one. A lot of coaches try to take somebody else's process, right? Somebody else's script, and do it exactly word for word how they do it. And the truth is, it's not authentic, right? There's not a sales script in this world that will outperform someone that truly understands psychologically the buying journey that a client must go through to make a decision. Once you master that and you understand exactly why things are happening in your sales calls, how they're happening in your sales calls, and what you're doing to drive that result, whether it's conscious or subconscious, that's where this game starts to change. So if you took anything away from this video, break down your sales calls, create a sales journal and journal after every single. Develop your circle of people that are operating at a much higher level in the same space than you are, or same space that you're in, and you'll watch your world start to shift. If you found value in this video, please comment below, share it with a friend, give us a follow if you're not already, and we'll see you in the next one.